What's going on, guys? I'm going to take you for a ride this morning. Started the truck up, let it warm up, went back inside and came out. It was across the street. Whoops. Went for a little roll there on its own. So let me see if I can get out of here without hitting the garbage cans. Nope. Alright, so anyway, off to get the Breakfast of Champions. It's Friday. And, yeah, get that straightened out there. So anyway, so I got a couple thumbs down last night on the vid. So, at least you're got company now, thumbs down guy. Got two of them. I just wanted to straighten a few things out, you know. Some people lately have made some comments that the YouTube garage doesn't need a leader and blah blah blah. And I'm not trying to be the leader of the YouTube garage, but I do want to make stuff happen for the YouTube garage channel. And the only way you make stuff better, make stuff happen is by doing stuff. So that's where the whole car show concept came from. You know, an event so everybody can get together and showcase their work. You know, bring their stuff, bring their projects finished in the process, however, and just get together and you know, talk and hang out with each other, because you know everybody's got a lot of stuff in common that's in the YouTube garage, and I found that to be true every time I meet somebody. You know, it's like we've been friends for a long time, and you know, we have a lot of the same interests, and cars being the common thing. And you know, once you start watching a guy's videos, you becoming you know, you start to become friends with a guy, and you know, you interact with somebody and you get to know them a little better, and you know, you're waiting for that next bid. So the car show thing has the potential to be huge. You know, part of the reason of doing it here, I know it's not probably the most ideal situation for a lot of people because you have to travel. But it's like any event, you know, you have to travel to. I think it'll be worth the trip. Andrea's the kind of person that'll go out of her way to make it worth your while. You know, she's lining all kinds of stuff up. There's more and more people that are getting on board with it. And we're having to find a place to have this where we potentially could have 500-600 cars show up. I know just in the local area, you know, on the local Friday night car show scene here, we can get anywhere from 75 to 100 cars, and every one of those cars will be at whatever event we throw. The other reason for throwing it here is, you know, feature cars of interest, I guess. I have a lot of friends that are in the racing business, so we'll be bringing all kinds of that stuff too. Drag cars, circle track cars, four-wheel drive trucks, motorcycles. I mean, everybody's going to be included in this deal, so you can see where it can start to get pretty big. So right now it's the logistics to find somewhere with bathrooms and somewhere that can house a large number of people, because of course with the cars, you know, you have spectators too. So like I said, this thing could snowball or it could be a big flop, and it's going to be a pretty big investment, you know, but I think it's probably going to be it's something that I want to do, and it's a way to give back a little bit to the YouTube community. And I know there's guys that'll thumb down this, and there's guys that aren't going to come, and there's guys who just say it's a shitty idea, and that's okay, man. But I think there's more guys that want to make this happen than there is that aren't. So that's all I wanted to say about the car show thing, you know, and about I'm trying to take leadership in the YouTube garage. It's not always about, you know, wanting to be the leader of something. It's about, you know, taking the initiative to make something better. And the only way that happens is if we work together. And it's like I told you guys, there's strength in numbers. And that's just a thought on it. It's, you know, not something to do to get rich off of. I talked to Andrew about donating profits to a charity, you know, and anytime you can get a group of people together that can help the community or an organization, you know, it's all good. And that's what happens when you get a large group of people. You know, you can make stuff happen that you couldn't make happen on your own. You know, we're trying to use a lot of the guys in the YouTube community for this event, you know, some bands. We're going to get some bands. We're going to do some, you know, we're going to do all kinds of stuff, man. It's not going to just be a car show in the middle of the field. I can promise you that. So, that's all I wanted to say about the car show. And I wanted to say thanks for everybody that's been commenting on my page. And, you know, some of you new guys that are making videos that are getting discouraged when people aren't watching your vids. You know, it's hard when you first start out. As I find you new guys that are coming into the garage, I put you in my favorites, and hopefully people find you there. And I remember how it used to be when I started. You know, I picked the camera up and wanted to make videos, and I saw people with like 10,000 hits and 5,000 hits, and you figure, man, all you gotta do is turn the camera on, people are gonna watch this stuff. And sometimes you turn the camera on and nobody watches it, and that's when it's hard to make the videos, you know, but you gotta keep digging and keep making them. And before you know it, people will start watching your videos. You know, I used to watch people like Tommy Shoe and James Freddy and Slow SRT, and just hope that they would comment on my channel. And eventually, you know, became friends with those people, and that's how my page took off. You know, my page isn't that great, you know. I mean, there's people with better pages. I appreciate every subscriber I have. I have over 500 now, and I never thought I'd see that. But you know, you get the comments, you get the views by commenting on other people's videos and interacting with people. So just remember that. Try to stay positive and not get discouraged, I guess is what I'm trying to tell you. And the views will come. And you know, you can learn a lot by watching too. So, you know, just because somebody's not watching your video, you know, doesn't mean they're not going to eventually. And it'll happen. You know, I was answering emails last night till 2 o'clock in the morning. And Andrea's been working a lot, so she hasn't been able to help me lately. And you know, it's a real struggle for me to hunt and pick through there and answer you guys. But I try to take the time to answer everybody, because I think it's important to answer somebody when they leave a comment. And I mean, you take the time to leave a comment, I'm going to take the time to answer it. So that's that. Ed the Kid had some primer questions. A couple guys were over there checking his page out. He's new to the YouTube garage, but he has a lot of questions, and he wants to learn, you know. And he's asking questions about primer. And Ed, you know, it depends on what you can afford, buddy. You know, 2K is always the way to go if you can afford it. You know, it's like building a house on concrete or building a house on sand. That's how I like to compare it, you know. There are some probably good lacquer primers out there, you know, different brands. I know we sell a lacquer primer. PPG has one. We used to use Condor at a dealership that I worked at, and we sprayed base coat, clear coat over it. You know, most guys will tell you not to use the lacquer stuff to get away from it, but it can be used, and there are a lot of guys that use it. Not really familiar with that product, so other than what the tech sheet says, you know, that's the only information I can give you. I did use it when I first started doing used cars, I was trying to do it as cheap as possible, and I just found that, you know, even though the cost is cheaper and the cleanup's easier and all that goes along with a lacquer primer, but I just didn't see it didn't work for me, you know. I don't know, my body work just wasn't good enough. I mean, you have to finish further with lacquer primer, you know, because it doesn't have the fill quality that the urethanes do. And not being catalyzed, and it doesn't always lock the bodywork down. So that's why a lot of guys like the, you know, the urethane 2K primer setup. And it really doesn't matter on the brand. I mean, there's good and bad brands with anything. If you want to try to get a decent brand 2K, you know, and you can usually get a kit for around in the $80 range, $85 range, you know. Some of the more expensive brands, you know, Diamond, PPG and stuff, they're going to be up in the $400, $300 range for their primers. You can save a little money on the primer, you know, go with an off-brand, and just go with a 2K. Bare metal, that's sort of a, you know, a hot discussion point in the garage. Some guys like to etch, some guys like to use the DP directly over the metal. It's personal preference. I don't say there's a way to do it anymore, you know. The way I do it is I like to etch first, and then I put the epoxy over the top of the etch, and then I'll do my body work over the epoxy. And if I have a really bad affected area, you know, I'll grind that down. Look at that trailer sitting there with no axle. That's weird. But I know that a lot of the epoxy primers require a 30-minute induction period after you mix it. So that's something that you need to pay attention to. Read your tech sheets and see what your product requires. I would, the etch is just, you know, it's a little step of insurance. My line, they have a footnote in the book that they would like to have the etch down before you put the epoxy. So. And there's other guys that use my epoxy primer that say if you let it sit for 30 minutes, it'll stick to anything. So I had some DP40 LF, I think is what it's called. I had a bad experience with it. On a car that I did, I had stripped the hood, and I put that epoxy down before I etched it, and I had an adhesion issue. Whether it wasn't blended all the way or what the problem was, it was just spots. So I don't know, but ever since then I've always used the etch primer. I used to use the epoxy on bare steel all the time and never had a problem. And when I had the problem, I called the rep up, you know, and I have a rep that's over me, you know, and I called him up for his input, and he's like, well, did you etch prime it? And I'm like, no, I didn't etch prime it, I put epoxy on it, you know, right to the steel. And he's like, well, that can be an issue. And, you know, he pointed out that the footnotes in the book called for etch. So I didn't want to have that problem of having a problem and calling the rep and him saying, well, did you do this? So now I just include that in my process. You know, I just go ahead and throw a little etch prime down, and it's got an activator. It's not a 2K. It's all Tommy Shoe. You'd ask a question about that. The Omni is a little different product than mine. You know, mine etches with acid, and the Omni works sort of like an etch primer or like a epoxy, I think. I'm not really sure of how that system works. One other thing I wanted to do a thing, and I'm going to do this. I don't know if it'll be this morning because I'm going to need Andrea's, well, I don't need her help, but I'm going to get her to print me a ticket so I can do this. But what I want to do, guys, is I want to try to clear up the issue between cheap paint and good paint. And I don't know if that's the right choice of words, but when you buy different types of paints, you can have different types of problems. And I had somebody that mentioned that they have a lighting issue, and they thought that it might be the fluorescent light that's causing them not to see if the panel's actually covered. A lot of times what happens, guys, is you go in and you get a price on some paint, and the guy tells you it's $450 or $500 for a gallon. And the first thing you do is like, wow, and then they'll tell you, well, we have this other paint, it's cheaper, and it's the same color, but it's just cheaper. It's an off-brand. A lot of people consider Matrix to be an off-brand of paint, but it's really not an off-brand. It's I think it's becoming one of the mainstays, as far as paints in the automotive business. You can take my toner and put it right on a PP machine, DBC, and it will replace their toner. And when I first opened this business, first week I was in business, I got the sue letter from PPG telling me, do not put your tints on our machine. Matrix is a direct copy of DBC, PPG. Not Omni, not Shopline. It's a copy of the DBC line, which is their premium, one of their premium bases. It's not global, it's a step down from global. What I'm getting at here, guys, is when you buy cheap paint, such as Omni or Shopline, Shopline they're the exception. They have I think they call it a HD base, or high performance base, basically, and or a plus is what they call it. And their plus is it's a little better base. It has less binder in it. But what I'm getting at is a lot of times the cover issue comes from the type of paint that you use. What happens is when you mix paint, you have pigment, which is your toners, and then you'll have binder, which is your filler for the paint. And that's what holds all the pigments and the toners together and suspends them. Now they have binders, and then they have actually fillers, to actually fill the can other than paint, and that's how you lower the cost. You use less toner, less pigment. So on the good paint, let's say for just an example, you'll have 80% pigment and then maybe 20% binder. Well, when you go to the cheap line, our cheap line would be Refinish Solutions, you'll have 20% pigment and 80% binder. So when you pop the top off the can, your can's full to the top. You got a quart, just like the other quart. It's half the price, and you got a third of the pigment. And that's where the savings comes in. And that's why those colors are usually off just a hair. Your color match issue comes from that reason. You have too much filler and not enough pigment. So I think the best way to explain that and show it is to mix, 2 pints of paint, mix different ways, different brands of paint. So I'm going to mix cheap color, and I'm going to mix, a premium color, and let you see the difference in the pigment amount. And a lot of time that pigment amount is what affects your coverage. You'll put 3-4 quart or cover. No, excuse me, guys. You put 3 or 4 coats on there, and you think you should be covered, and you're getting the mills each time you spray a coat on. You get the mills, and a lot of times what happens is with that cheaper paint is you have to put so much paint on there. You'll have a lot of mills on before you even put your clear on, and it can cause dieback issues and all kinds of little stuff that you don't expect, because you bought paint, and paint's paint, and that's not always the case. So I want to definitely do a video on that so I can explain that better and show you the difference. And you don't always get what you pay for. A lot of times when you go for the cheap paint, you just cheat yourself, because now you have a product that doesn't cover as well, and it won't hide the primer. You're forced to use a sealer. It's very transparent, and you have lots of mils before you put your clear down. You're almost always better to buy the good paint and just get less of it, because it takes more of the cheap paint to cover. So that's just a little video. Let me order the Breakfast of Champions here.
order when you're ready, please.
Yeah, I'd like to get a oatmeal, a cinnamon melt, a large Coke, and a sausage biscuit. That'll do it.
689.
So anywho, I think this vid's been long enough. We'll make one of doing some work here in a little while, but I just want to tell you, new guys, don't get discouraged. People are watching, and it'll come, man. Morning. Thank you. So then the other thing I wanted to say real quick before I turn this off is you guys be nice to Andrea. You know, she's working hard for this car show, and I'd appreciate it if you guys work with her, you know, and not against her. And any input you guys can give would be great. You know, I don't know. I'd like to do some kind of fun, you know, raise some kind of money some way with the guys that got the extra $5 or something to put into an account or something, maybe for some guys in the group that can't afford to come to the show, that we can buy some plane tickets for those people and you know, make sure they're a part of the festivities. But I'd like to see all you guys there. I know that's not going to be possible, but you know, be nice to Andrea, give her your input, and help her out with this, man. We can make this huge together, you know. Remember, there's strength in numbers, guys.